Greetings everyone, this is the Crusade Man. I will be watching a 3-minute video of the facts about the Crusade. Sadly, since the early 2000s, around the time of Kingdom of Heaven 2 came out, Crusades became more popular, and the liberal left have been trying desperately to always make the Crusades look like they were barbarians and uncivilized and Muslims were victims of it all, which is complete utter nonsense. According to the unholy Quran of Islam, they are to kill all non-believers, slay those they see, and of course, with their Quran and Hadith, it's okay for them to rape women and children and pillage as much as they want, as long as they weren't doing it to Muslims, or as some would say historically, true Muslims. But in this video, we will get the facts about the Crusaders trying to fight to take back the land that was wrongfully stolen from them, as well as trying to stop the Muslims from their raping and pillaging of their lands. So let's get into this video.
It is easy to pass the Crusades off as greedy religious imperialism, but this is a modern oversimplification. So in the next 3 minutes, you will understand what the Crusades were really about, why they started, and what motivated the men who took part. What most people forget is that 4 centuries before the beginning of the Crusades, the first Muslim army swept out of Arabia to conquer Palestine, Syria, Mesopotamia, Egypt, North Africa, and Spain, some 2/3 of the Christian world between the 7th and 11th centuries. In the 11th century, the Seljuk Turks, recent converts to Islam, swept through Syria and Palestine.
Now I want to add here, when Islam started conquering, they had an advantage of the Roman Empire and the Sassanid Empire were both really weakened at this point. The Byzantines were always fighting the Sassanids, and they were fighting each other all the time, doing raids and having to deal with barbarians on their ends, like the White Horde. And eventually they were exhausted. They didn't have as much money in the treasury because they kept fighting each other. 2 empires fighting left and right. And Islam just came up and said, oh look, they're tired. Let's go and just start raiding and pillaging. And that's what happened. Muslims started coming in, taking them off guard. And there was, moments where the Romans and the Sassanids were thinking about working together to fight against the Muslims, but both were too busy trying to defend their own land. So that's how Islam was able to expand, was they came in while both sides were tired, and with their exhaustion and low money, they just weren't able to defend their provinces.
In 1071, they defeated the Byzantines at the Battle of Manzikert, conquering almost all of Anatolia. This changed the world's landscape, which naturally prompted the Pope to take massive action based on the request of the Byzantine Emperor. Pope Urban II called the First Crusade, asking knights from all over Europe to band together and push back the Seljuks. Over the 12th and 13th centuries, the popes called more crusades to the Holy Land, and also called for crusades in Spain to help push back the Muslim powers. It is often forgotten that when news arrived that Christian pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem were being harassed and killed by the Seljuk Turks, many knights joined the First Crusade in their defense. Although the Crusades were called...
Now, when it comes to the Turks, when you look at the historical documentation, the Arabs, the Muslims mainly where it was founded, they were really bad when it came to barbarianism and uncivilized warfare. But the Turks, when they came in, let's just say they were more extremists than the Arabs. So I'll probably do another video on that some other time. But yeah, they really took it too far, to the point that even the Arabs would have been ashamed to say, wow, we're not as hardcore Muslims as they are. But then there's a contradiction compared to what Muhammad did, that the Turks were probably doing as well, that the Arabs were maybe lacking in at some points.
To reclaim lands, greed was not a primary motivation. Professor Jonathan Riley Smith, the world's foremost expert on Crusades history, has proven that crusading was incredibly dangerous and expensive, and that virtually none of the knights who went could expect to gain wealth. Indeed, they often bankrupted themselves crusading, The primary motivation for crusading was spiritual. The Crusades to the Holy Land saw many failures, but also many successes. The First Crusade and the Third Crusade, for example, were both very successful, though ultimately, later at the close of the 13th century, the last Crusader holdings in Syria and Palestine would be captured by the Muslim Mamluk Empire. However, the Crusades in other theaters like Spain achieved lasting victory, with the whole of Spain being ultimately recaptured by the Christians.
It's true. Granada was the last Islamic kingdom to stand before they got taken out. And yeah, it took many years for Spain to finally kick the Muslims out, because there were some infighting when it came between Spain, maybe Aragon, Portugal, and the other provinces before Spain became as big as it was. Or to be more precise, they were called Castile. So, yeah, fact history.
There were also crusades in the Baltic regions. Later crusades would also be called against the Ottoman Turks, such as the Crusade of Lepanto in 1571.
If you want more on this subject, I made a free ebook in defense of the Crusades for those who love studying the Crusades but don't know how to refute many of the common misconceptions often repeated about them. Inside you'll find answers to the most common attacks against the Crusades and facts to back these up, so you can finally talk about the Crusades with confidence. It's linked in the pinned comment. Free for...
Alright everyone, that's the video. Real Crusade History. I've always enjoyed watching his videos. For a couple of years I've been watching them, and yeah, if you want like real detailed factual Crusade history, I would recommend his channel. Anyways, this is a Crusade Man. Be blessed.